Along with individual experts, Surgeon Masters brings you life improvement strategies in 10 minutes. These proven principles and strategies are easy to learn and can be applied immediately, allowing you to practice your best. Here's your host, Jeff Smith.
On this episode of the Surgeon Masters mini podcast, I have with me an author, international speaker, and consultant in sports and performance psychology, Haley Perlus. Welcome, Haley.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm happy to be here.
So I was so excited to hear a fantastic presentation that you gave in the sports psychology arena, but to a bunch of surgeons. And that's why I'm excited to have you on as a guest to share your knowledge with our audience.
Yeah, it was great. It was great when you came up to me at the end. I didn't have a lot of time, but you said, can we connect? And then you followed through, and I'm super happy to help any way I can.
So I know sports psychology and performance psychology, they're pretty vast, but you and I both, I think, agree that there's a tremendous overlap in the surgeon space as we're performing.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about how you got interested in and how you also got interested in sharing that knowledge with a bunch of surgeons.
Sure. So I chose sports psychology when I was 12 years old. I was an athlete. I had a moment where my coach bet on me to win high pressure, and I ended up winning. And he then said to me, it's amazing what your performance can be like when you get your head straight. And I chose sports psychology at a very young age. And as I was growing up and realizing very quickly that this performance psychology, mental toughness isn't just for athletes, I need it as I grow my business. And having a father who's a periodontist, having a brother who's an orthopedic surgeon, who also was an athlete, even more than me, it was just interesting to see the overlap, high pressure situations, people wanting you to be perfect in a world where perfection is not always possible. And so there is a lot of overlap. In addition, I think that there's a lot that we can learn from professional athletes that we can apply into our lives. And as surgeons, there are things that we can learn from professional athletes that can help us to be our best more of the time.
Absolutely. And I think one of the intriguing topics that I know you have a lot of knowledge on is that concept that when you're really that intensely performing, that there needs to be an opportunity to recover.
Absolutely. And so that's one of the key things that we need to learn from professional athletes. Professional athletes don't recover when they have the time or as a reward. And I believe that's what surgeons can do sometimes is, when I have the time, I'll recover. Professional sport athletes recover as a mandatory component of their performance program. It's non-negotiable. And so what we've adapted into more of the corporate world is this concept of sprinting as opposed to living your life as a marathon. You stress, you recover, you stress, you recover, you stress, you recover. Now, as a surgeon, you can't necessarily stress for 90 minutes and then take a 15-minute recovery break because sometimes you're operating for many more hours than that. So it's a little bit unique for surgeons, yet with the mindset that it's non-negotiable. How can we create opportunities for recovery? And it's not, we have to think about it like this. When you're thirsty, we say it's already too late. You're already dehydrated. When you're exhausted, it's already too late. You needed the recovery earlier. So we have to look to see in our day-to-day schedules, where can we take 5 minutes to just for stillness or maybe a little bit of active recovery, a common peace are really the goals there, to find common peace before we go back into a stressor or high performing situation.
Yeah. And I kind of see it as also extending that in a day, but in a week or in a month or in several months, that our sprints may be a little different, but there's still that mandatory need for recovery.
Right. So we shift our minds from I'll recover at night, I'll recover on the weekend. And we're looking at it less as hours, but more of a recovery pause, if that helps us. A recovery pause, a recovery bout, little short interval recoveries that we can insert in that day, week, month, because I know the schedule looks different.
So tell me more about recovery. It seems like a vast subject.
It is the only way, which is actually a good thing because there's not a whole lot of options, but it is the only way to prevent or treat burnout. And it comes in two forms. So one is stillness. meditation, taking a short, nap, the brilliance of boredom, just stopping what you're doing and hang out. Maybe go outside and for a moment, just focus on what you see, focus on what you taste, focus on what you hear, focus on what you smell, just a little bit of stillness. Then there's active recovery, taking yourself out of one task and putting yourself into another task as long as that other task creates calm and peace while doing it. So a lot of people will say, well, I'll get these emails done because then I'll feel calm afterwards. No, that's not the point. The actual activity has to be calm and peace. Listening to music, reading a book, gardening, puzzling, playing music, laughter, gratitude journaling. Those are active recoveries that can create calm and peace. And it is not one size fits all. We really have to know ourselves and the situations that we're about to walk into to know what recovery techniques are going to work best for us, give us the biggest bang for its buck, because we only have 5 minutes, or maybe 10, 15, but we're not looking at the hour recovery sessions, recovery bouts throughout our day.
And I think what you're telling me is that high-performing athletes do this in order to actually be high-performing.
It's the only way to let their bodies renew energy. So how can we, or you and your listeners as surgeons, it's a high-pressure job. There's a lot of people counting on you, and you need to be mentally, emotionally, physically energized. And the only way to have that energy is to give yourself the opportunity to create it. And create and renewing energy only comes from recovery, which is why it's the only prevention and treatment for burnout.
And prevention for other things. And also, it sounds like just to be practicing at your best.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can't be resilient. You can't be clear in mind. You can't be emotionally pleasant without the energy to do so.
So Haley, wrap that back up into like a key message for us.
Recovery is non-negotiable. It is a mandatory component of our performance programs. And we need to focus on the short recovery bouts consistently throughout the day.
Thanks so much for sharing that key message with our audience.
Awesome. You're welcome.
There you have it. In less than 10 minutes, this is Jeff Smith, along with Dr. Haley Perlus. Until the next episode of Life Improvement Strategies for the Surgeon Who Wants More. Ciao.
Now, take 10 minutes and put your plan into action to practice your best.